Ladies and gentlemen, today I would love to delve into the fascinating world of computer-mediated communication and explore its various characteristics. As an English major navigating this ever-evolving landscape, understanding the nuances of computer-mediated communication is important. So first of all, I would love to commend the presence of each and everyone in here. And also, we will not be able to make this possible without the expert input of our instructor, Mr. Oliver Sawalan. So I am very confident that my group mates or the previous reporters have presented their respective topics very well. But I am here to summarize everything and explain it in a more simpler terms that even an elementary student could understand. So the first topic that we have is um, highly interactive communication. So highly interactive communication, hence the name is highly interactive, very dynamic. So one of the examples that we can use is in the social media platform like Twitter, especially during sports or political events. We can see the highness of interactivity in the retweets, in the tweets of in the said um, online platform, which is Twitter. So we can see the response of the participants in that kind of medium, and there is a dynamic exchange of information within the participants, and it fosters debate to the listeners or the participants. Another example is Facebook Live. During Facebook Live, I know all of you have experienced that same thing, that everyone in who are joining the Facebook Live can participate and can partake in the discussion within the medium. So the positive side of it is that um, it fosters immediate feedback, um, engagement, and rich in communication. So that is one thing that we love about highly interactive communication. You will get the information or the response from the recipients or participants right away. So you don't have to wait for them to take their time because you will get the response immediately. So the cons of this is pressure to respond quickly and it might be overwhelming. So every time, I know that all of you have experienced this kind of thing. Every time when we are in an oral recitation, that is an example also of highly interactive communication because the sender of the message, or perhaps your instructor, is expecting you to respond quickly, to respond right away, because that is the nature of highly interactive communication. And of course, it fosters a dynamic exchange of information. Next topic is multi-way communication. So multi-way communication basically it holds or fosters multiple participants. It holds a lot of participants on the other side of the medium or the devices. So for example of that is Google Meeting. Every meeting that we have, there are lots of participants that can participate in one discussion, in one um, conversation the within the realm of computer mediated communication. Another example is also in Twitter or Facebook Live. There are lots of participants that can join in the discussion. And so it is very important that we are able to understand this because it is part of our future work. It is part of our life as a BAL student, and we shouldn't disregard this kind of information. So the positive side of multi-way communication is it fosters diverse perspective, inclusivity, global reach, and collaboration. So those four things are one of the things that can um, can be of the positive side of multi-way communication. First is diverse perspective. Of course, when there are a lot of participants, you will be able to hear their standpoints, hear their perspectives about what you are saying, and that collaborative or um, collective knowledge of people can really make an impact and very rich in conversation, and can make the conversation very rich because of the multiple standpoints and views and perception. Next is inclusivity and global reach. When there are lots of participants, you are expected to be more inclusive, or you have to include them because multi-way communication fosters multiple participants. Global reach because since it holds multiple participants, it doesn't matter where you are located in the world. As long as we can harness the power of technology, we can use it in a way that we are able to communicate with each and everyone regardless of the geographical constraints. Next is the cons of multi-way communication. That is the negative side of multi-way communication. Next, complexity, potential disruptions, information overload. So complexity is when in multi-way communication, complexity is when, since there are lots of participants, you will be able to face different standpoints. You will be able to face different perceptions. And of course, it does not always align to what you believe in. So that is one of the negative side of multi-way communication. Next is potential disruptions. Of course, that is something that you cannot control. When there are lots of participants, there are lots of potential disruptions, external and internal. So that is one of the negative side of it. Next is information overload. Since there are lots of participants, you will be able to experience getting a lot of information, and of course it is overwhelming. So that is the one of the negative side of multi-way communication. Next is synchronous communication. I know it is very basic concept. I know that every one of you can really discuss it very thoroughly, and even an elementary student can understand it. Synchronous communication basically means that any communication that happens in real time, regardless of geographical and time constraints. So wherever you are in the world, as long as you're able to use the computer as a medium for communication, since we are talking about computer mediated communication, then we can practice synchronous communication. One of the example of them is video calls. Video calls is a conversation that happens in real time. You will be able to discuss with the recipient of the message in real time. Next is phone calls. Phone calls as well, you can discuss in real time. And you will be able to exchange informations in real time, regardless of your geographical or your location. So you might be confused what is the difference between highly interactive communication and synchronous communication, since it also happens in real time. Well, the only difference is their level of interactiveness. Highly interactive communication focuses on the level of interactivity or the interactiveness within the participants. It's just like, for example, in Facebook Live. What I mean is that it is very dynamic, it is very rapid, and you will be able to receive the response from the recipient very quickly. However, on the other side, synchronous communication rather is only or solely focusing on the interaction or the exchange of the messages in real time, regardless of the interactivity within the respondent, the recipient, or the sender. So that is the difference of the two. Um, the only difference is their level of interactivity, where highly interactive focuses more on the interactivity or interactiveness, and synchronous communication solely focuses on the real-time conversation. Last but definitely not the least is the asynchronous communication. Asynchronous communication, in contrary to the synchronous communication, it is a communication that happens that has a time gap, or there's a gap within the response. So the example of this is activities that were posted on Google Classroom. In Google Classroom, it is in our convenience on when we are going to respond to the message, and we hold our own time. It's only up to our convenience. That is the straightforward way to say it. Next example is messages, or email messages rather. Email, because of course we are taking time to respond. It's up to us when we are going to respond. So that is the characteristics or the traits of asynchronous communication. So for a recap, the four topics that we had given are highly interactive communication, wherein it focuses on the level of interactiveness. Second is multi-way communication, wherein it fosters multiple participants. Synchronous communication, basically communication that happens in real time. And lastly, asynchronous communication, that is the communication that does not happen in real time. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and I hope that you have learned something from our discussion, and I really do hope that you have a great day ahead.